together a sequence of calls that you can teach, that if you follow that sequence, evidently you're supposed to be able to have these people dancing in a very short period of time. Short period of time means you're not spending 40 weeks trying to teach somebody. We're getting it down to something much less, and probably, hopefully, something around a quarter of that time period. We're going to start off with Doc down here. Doc has got a program that they're doing in Japan to get people dancing where there are no instructors, for one thing, and then no callers. So we'll get Doc up here, and Doc, if you could go ahead with your session. Again, a reminder, this session is being recorded. Everyone has paid to hear the words that you contribute to this session, so please, there are 4 microphones. We're going to use one of them. There are 3 more available for you. Thank you.
Can I start?
Yes, sir.
Okay. 46, CALLERLAB Convention in Richmond, Virginia, April 16th and 2018. This is an inner session called Basic Entry Mainstream Essential Condensed Teaching Method, but I will take the basic entry thing. Okay. Let me introduce myself. This is the area I'm working. My area is quite off from the Tokyo area. The red part is a densely populated area. Okay, I'm remote a little bit, and look at this. That's a small square enlarged like this, and my residence is here around 10. And I have I created clubs, 10 of clubs in this area. And basically I'm a left-hand side guy, but on the right-hand side, this guy's area. So I will now get into his area, but still it's important that this rail line is directly connected to Tokyo, that more people get together than on the left-hand side. This is just to introduce myself. I started in my area creating the club in 1992. It's 27 years ago, and we had 2 young callers with me, and those callers got good calling, site calling skills. So we created 2 more clubs for them, and it's 3. And I kind of, a little different area. I created a new club, 2 clubs, and I kind of raised the new caller and gave it to other. And this is accumulated number of the dancers which belong to those 10 clubs. And in the past 6 years or so, it's increased. And now I have 183 dancers in my area. Okay? And I still do a call at 5 clubs. So every week I'm quite busy. The reason why I'm busy is that I teach very easy dance. And my policy is that don't lose any new dancers. So even though the average age is increasing, I take care of everybody. And if they enjoy my call, I'm happy. I'm that guy, that kind of guy. I had, 2 years ago, until 2 years ago, I was calling advanced, and she wanted to do, but now concentrated on the basic. General thing about Japan Square Dance Association. This is the number of the members, and now around 14,000 all over Japan, and one dancer per 10,000 population. It's the square dance activity density. And the fact is that the recruiting new dancers is getting more difficult every year. Dancer average age going up, of course, and more members retire than new members, so going down. But we are crazy enough to put the target of 100,000 people experience the square dance. And how to do that is different from area to area, okay? And just not only watching the square dancing, but just the experiencing, maybe 30 minutes or 1 hour is much better. Because if you are looking at square dancing, it seems too difficult for everybody, because it sounds like English. But they say it's not English only, but the French word included. Some Japanese, recoupment made so called. That kind of thing. So people, if once they experience square dance like this, yeah, they find some kind of rule there. Some kind of circle. It's not circle. Maybe 8 people get together, looks like, and one funny guy is using microphone and shouting something. Okay, and there seems to be some rule for that, and we explain to the audience how it works. And games is very simple. How to align the 8 dancers, and then if you want to join us, maybe creating another 8 dancer square. So by knowing that the rule, how to start the game, that's one, and how to move at the second, and it sounded like English before they get into the circle, but once they experienced the move, they became to know that that is just a nickname of the movement. Okay, doesn't matter. So Japanese callers that is not good at speaking English, that pronunciation a little different, but those funny English language is taken as a nickname of the movement. As far as the people know that, it's okay. And some here, very crazy thing is that some dancers really love to help the new dancers. And course used in entry-level dancers such as experienced dancers, dance has only 21. This is a new program we have created, and that is just for let people experience, not by color, the leader, dancer leader. And there is a manual like this. If you want to have a copy, home office people were kind enough that making this big book like that. So please take it, that's free. Anyway, that is the new program for the dance leader to help the new people to learn how to do the game. Just 21 movement. And relatively new dancers who are currently dancing up to mainstream or something. some of those are good at talking to people, and they can be a teacher. And I think JSDA's technical committee created a series of CDs, and Kaz would show the example of music and with code. Would you?
ハートなドーサードフェイスやコーナーアラマンレッペグラウンドライターレフトミッチアパートナードーサード You promenade You get perform when you
English.
Heads farther and back Heads ドーサード
Okay.
Size farther
Maybe
partner those promenade get perform when you home size promenade 一周 all the way
Maybe here. This kind of choreography is printed, and the dance leader just teach the movement only, and they play this CD and let people dance. And whenever they have a question, they can stop and then start over again. So, relatively new dancers are, if they are given the opportunity to do that, they can do it. But normally, we don't allow them to do that, right? And some scholars consider this is a dangerous attempt. Do you understand? Yeah, and this is not color. But we are finding that some of those are interested in calling. So that might be one of the way to, find new callers. I don't know. But anyway, we can try by putting a big effort to make a CD and having some lectures how to do it and all over Japan, and several areas have already started doing that. And good thing is that these days there are many good pieces of music, beautifully arranged to both hold down and singing. So music is a key, I think, and I love it. The list of the call is like this. We call seven calls from party partners, such to the left, and forward and back, and pass through are called common call. 7 common calls. Every time when the teachers do a dance, the people experience these 7 common calls, right? Repeatedly. So they will learn in our song. It's okay. And lesson 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and depends on the situation. You can eliminate, and you can select some of those, and then depending on the time you can get, and so it's quite flexible thing. And I think I am doing a similar thing and asking some dancers to do this in some remote area, and I maybe ask them to do an addition of the 4 chords, like 4 ladies chain, 2 ladies chain, box and V on D on the square 3, if it's possible. But we don't try too much, okay? Now, you must be wondering how many dance programs we have. There are many. The Taiken program, 21 call, as I told you now. Before that, we created the community 25. This is a college stuff, okay? And we, CALLERLAB, decided to split the basic program into two. Basic part 1, 30 call, and basic 2 means full basic, right? And in between that, I created a new dance program, basic 40. If you save the ocean wave, it's 40 calls. And some in my area, people like to have somebody next to you, facing to the same direction, and take a hand, and they can guide. So 50% chance. One dancer knows he can take the other. So if you like or not, the hand guide is used, but it will disappear. The strong hand guide will be disappear very soon. I'm not very much worried about it. And for the most people, the modern Western school dancing can be something enjoyed by no competition, no rushing to the mainstream, you know. And the club callers' attitude is very, very important. So using the very entry-level dance program up to a full basic, the transition of that dance program is already given to all the callers. And dancers enjoy learning repeatedly. This is the point. They very easy to forget. Oh, what did they do last week? And they love to learn. Every week, same thing. They love to learn. It's okay for us. If they enjoy, I will teach 20 times. Same call. No problem. Dancers enjoy learning repeatedly, and it's okay to say my destination is community 25. You know, you don't have to learn up to 40. Just 25 is, if you think it's good enough, I will do it. That's its attitude. For the moment, learning speed is different from one club to the other. It's okay, but the final destination is to have some common programs on the area. And I'm hoping that we can have some kind of event, dance event, using a commonized dance program. And the stress normally felt in trying to be a good DVD dancer is not what the average dancer wants. Yeah. Just simple bread and butter thing is very, very enjoyable for many people. And I taught some movement and the list of the cars and the explanation of, simple explanation of the car on the right-hand side, and in different order, and made a puzzle. And the people who join that dancer do this, okay? They like puzzle, you know. This is not a test, just a puzzle. And they love playing that, okay? And maybe I can conclude this talk. Each club to set a target period to make a basic part 1 or basic part 2 smooth dance, no hurry. Then set up a standard dance skill level of open dance using the CALLERLAB dance program. This is a target. Maybe for full basic can be part target, or maybe part 1. Basic part 1 might be a dance party program. The first joint dance can be
that we all four kind of felt that we see often high frequency at a mainstream dance. Then we said, well, we've got to put them in some kind of order. I mean, how to teach them. Obviously, teaching is a guideline, but we really wanted to shoot for calls and stuff that really would do a little bit of two things. Make us, as instructors, do a little more homework with calls that we didn't have at our fingertips. There are a lot of people who, they can't teach sweep a quarter unless they have flutter wheel, things like that. So this definitely does that. It makes you work a little bit more about how am I going to get to a line without using circle to a line in every sequence, as Lee Wright. John Jones has over the years many a time, and still does, talk about all of our sequence calls begin with Ed square 3 4, and how do we break that habit that's so easy to do? And so this is kind of one of the areas that we headed for, but the other thing was, how do we put them in order in order to make them flow? Because our main concern was, we want the dancers to feel like they're dancing. So that's how all this kind of got developed. Then, as time went on, this is what we started with. Then the EC and what have you came back, and 2 of the people dropped off of the venture, and there was only 2 of us left. And of course that was CALLERLAB. And the EC said, hey, we want you guys to do more with this. And we're like, whoa, this is cool. So we were up for the task. So we created not only the history, that's all in the very, very beginning. So that became these pages up front. And then we went and followed the CALLERLAB guidelines that we have. We have a check-off list, just like the mainstream program has, plus program, and it goes on and on. I can't remember the name of it, but somebody can help me. We have our definitions, and then there was another set that was created. Is that, do you remember the name is?
Abbreviated.
Abbreviated, thank you. So we thought, well, heck, they went and did a lot of work in doing this short, condensed abbreviation of definitions. Why don't we utilize that and put it in here? And every call that's on that 12-week program has the abbreviated definitions that an ad hoc committee created and put together. Why not? It made sense. The next step that we thought was like, well, what if you have a retirement community that you're working in? And people come to square dance, and they might live next door to each other. And what happens if one of the couples misses? Well, the couple next door could say, well, hey, here's some choreography, little written sequences that they could work. If they were to be missing a week or 2 or something like that, they can go next door. So we created 2 couple choreography that we could just go over and visit, and all you gotta do is read it, okay? And practice with them when they have, if you had that desire. But we also created 4 couple sequences as well. We didn't get crazy with the amount of material. I think we probably did like 5 of the 2 couple and 5 of the 4 couple material. And it is a little expanded. Sometimes some of it's a little quite interesting. But it was there for people to get together and practice on their own. But also, you guys could use it too, as well. So it served 2 purposes, but the initial purpose was thinking about the dancers maybe getting together if people had missed and what have you, in any real world situation. So as time went on, we kept working on it. We continued with everything that we could think of in the period of time that we were tasked to do this. So this took more and more and more months and what have you like that to go through. In the meantime, then we had the SSD come about. And it's kind of similar. It's just different calls. Now, down here, you'll see calls that are, you don't see Star Through California Twirl. On others, you'll see those calls. So at the very end of this, the calls that were left over, okay, from the 12-week program, are the completion of the basic mainstream. calls. If you look at this and go through this, within the 12 weeks of the mainstream movements, there's only 4 of the 17 left to teach. All the rest of them were basic. So the theory was, if we lived in a perfect world, and we had mainstream clubs all over the country and the world, that new dancers would just filter into, the theory is I could do a 12-week course, and on the 13th week, I could start another one. I could take the first 12 and move them into my club, my mainstream group. And I only have like 17 calls. Well, that sounds like a lot, but they can be taught within 4 weeks. There's not one call on there, probably I could say, that would take more than a minute and 30 seconds to teach, roughly. And you could do that at club. So within 4 to 5 weeks max, you can have them completely in the club, participating, being part of club membership, and learn the rest. In the meantime, you start another 12-week course. And that's how this was kind of developed and how it was thought about. What would, if we lived in the perfect world? Okay? And so that's basically how the condensed teach. I use it. I have a group that is strictly condensed teach. It's tough. I'm crawling.
Why is it tough?
Because the area is predominantly plus. And so when I finish and I get them to, and our group that we have is based on a 16-week course. So we do 12 weeks and 4 weeks we dance. We dance whatever that 12, we start another group, we adjust the time. New people come in, the first 12-week people, their time goes up, about an hour, they dance another 16-week course. And then we take the 2 groups and we continue the next set to finish up those 17 calls, which roughly takes about 5 weeks, but we still got that 16-week. And why do we have the 16-week? Because it fits the calendar. Okay? But it gives those people all those extra nights to dance, strictly mainstream. We advertise it in the area, we're dancing mainstream, come dance with us, and nobody comes.
Why is that? Think you're better off.
I don't know why it is, okay? But over 2 years course of time, I've generated about 3 squares of new people who can dance mainstream. And now they're eventually going into plus. But it's okay, because they're ready for it. All right? And the message I want to send, if anything, to anybody in this whole organization is we need to start slowing things down. Doesn't matter if it's this here, or if it's SSD, or whatever it happens to end up being. We have to start slowing it down so we have time to get people in, until we can hit that one class where you get about 40 people, 50 people, and then all of a sudden they'll start generating 20 or 30 the next one, and what have you, and get that ball rolling for however long that may last. If we continue, just say, look, we're going to start in September, and by March we're going to be through plus, it's not working. It really isn't. And in our area, I think other people are really realizing this. They're starting to change their tune a little bit and say, whoa, I think you're right. You know, it's got to change. But by doing this and getting it started, and the other things has, I believe, started something in our activity of people realize we need to slow down. Now what we got to do is really do it with all of us backing this whole thing up. This is really, I'm partial to it because I was one of the authors. But I use it. And I use it in a different way too, because we couldn't put program on here. If we could have put program on here, I think things would be a little different today maybe. I don't know. But we weren't tasked to do that. We're tasked to make it a teaching method. And that's what we did. I use it in traditional. When we have another group, they want to be plus, and they're so far south in the state of Maryland, they might as well be in Hawaii. And they won't just stop at mainstream. So I share the club with another guy, and we said, well, you know something, we can fix that. We will call and teach until they're finished. If it takes 2 years. They say, well, when they're going to graduate? The answer is, when they finish.
When they're ready.
When they're going to graduate. When they finish. And they don't ask us anymore. It takes our group to get all the way through plus now. We start off with the condensed teach, same thing, 12 weeks. And then we move into the rest of the calls that are left in the basic mainstream. And then into plus. And it takes us 1 year and 9 months. So what's the disadvantage? We don't hit the market as often as we'd like. We don't have the opportunity. But here's the good part. If we have 12 people, 10 people, 20 people that are committed to doing the lessons, they're there, all of them, 100% are there 1 year, 9 months later. Okay? Because we make them a part and we're not pushing them. We accommodate them when they miss. I mean, everything goes into that equation. I'd like it to be this. I mean, I'd like it to be just as simple as something small that we could say, hey, and everybody across the whole world would say, this is square dancing, and then the rest of it is just extensions of. But we're not there yet. I think we're going to be one day.
Ladies and gentlemen, Bill Harrison. Again, the background theme there was get people in and get them dancing, not learning, okay? So, back in 2006 timeframe, my wife did not know how to square dance. Been calling for a lot of years. My wife did not know how to square dance. Bill was teaching lessons. And I said, I will not teach you to square dance. It's one of the reasons why she hadn't learned yet. I'm not stupid. I'm a little slow, but I'm not stupid. Even our conversations after class with Bill could sometimes be a little bit awkward. Thank you, it was a good word. And my usual response was, well, maybe you should talk to the instructor. It ain't me. So anyway, during that time period, Bill introduced me to something that he and Tim Marin at the time had worked out. And I kind of, if you look at the condensed and you look at this, there's a lot of similarity, okay? And Bill said, you're taking the lessons with your wife. I'm teaching using this method here, this list of calls. When you, as you're doing this, if you would, kind of make notes of what you think. I did. And at the end of it, I wrote it all up and I sent it to him and Tim as a critique of what I thought of this. And to tell you what I think of it, I'm still using it today. Okay? As a student in a class, I kept my mindset, I'm the student here. He went through this and they called it the essentials. Okay? We're teaching the essentials. We're going to get you on the floor, we're going to get you dancing with the essentials. And it laid it out, the session, what was being taught, the order that they were being taught in. Now, there's a couple of things in here that I changed. I may change, teach one session, different session, whatever. Those are personal preferences. However, the basis of what he used for those lessons are still right here and intact, and I walk into my program, my class, and this is laying on the table every time, okay? That's how much I believe in this. This is the complete mainstream program, by the way. It's every move. However, I don't graduate anybody from a class, okay? I get them in, we get started, we start having fun, we start learning a few moves, we start dancing. And I use this material here to go through and get them dancing. And I will get the same question, when are we going to graduate them? Who needs to graduate? I'll give them a certificate at some point, but I'm not worried about graduation. I'm worried about dancers on the floor. Now, what I've done is I've sold this to the dancers that are participating with me. The club that I'm doing this for, I've sold this to them. And they've bought into it. That's part of what you gotta do, okay? You gotta have a destination for the people when you do something like the condensed teach, or what Doc is doing, or what I'm doing with this. You've gotta have a destination for these people. Because if you don't give them that, there's not a club in your area that can take what you finished with in 12 weeks, 10 weeks, 16 weeks, whatever, however long you've been doing it. There's not a club for them to go dance at. You've got to have a place for them to go. I keep losing this thing. Anyway, so the essentials. What that means is there's a list, if you've got the handout here, you can see on the back of it, there's a list, says the remaining MS calls. Basically saying they are not essential to have a dance. What's on the main list, 20 weeks, okay, this is what we're saying, these are essentials for you to be able to have enough material to put together a dance. Now, you can't just on the fly go out and do anything that you would normally do at a mainstream dance. You've got to, okay, evidently it's me. You've got to know your material, okay? You've got to know what you're doing here with this, and you've got to be creative with your material and not let it be boring. You don't want someone to walk into your club or your class and say, this is boring. Make sure you've done your homework. You've got to use the material that's available to you. Again, remember, we're working to get people dancing, not working to get people to take lessons. We're there to get them dancing. So, this is one way to do it. The essentials is a way to do it. Doc's got a way to do it. If you go on CALLERLAB's site, there's probably half a dozen discussions, lists, ideas, what have you, because CALLERLAB came out and said, people, submit ideas. Tell us what you think. Come up with ways to improve what we're doing. Come up with ways, think out of the box. Come up with a way to get people dancing, get them in the program and enjoying the program. There's not a whole lot more for me to go in depth on that. I mean, that's basically it. Getting your mindset that I'm not going to take people all the way through mainstream before they start dancing with a group. There is no basic where I'm at. I don't believe, Bill's got the same problem. There is no mainstream destination for people. So why do we try to get to those destinations when all we're doing is we know we're just running people off? Okay, we're pushing them too hard, too far, too fast. Like Bill said, slow down. We've got to slow this stuff down to keep people interested in it and making sure they're having fun. And that's pretty much my presentation on that. We're going to go into a Q&A session here. Again, I want to remind everyone that many of you in this room have paid to hear what someone has to say. So please use the microphone so that everyone can get their money's worth and we can hear what you have to comment on or any questions that you have for anybody on the panel here. I'll open up questions. Yes, sir.
Make sure you state your name, where you're from.
Ted Rockwood from southeastern Pennsylvania. This is an amazing thing for me because our club has gone through the process that Doc went through in a certain way, all the way up to what Bill's doing. And I'll try and cut this down a bit. I'm with the Perky Promenaders Square Dance Club, and they started as a plus club way back. It's 50-some years now. But in the 90s, they were having problems getting enough students to be able to pay the caller. So one of the guys was at a Harvest Moon weekend, and Bill Copman was selling a set of 33 cassette tapes to do the normal mainstream from September through May. And so he bought those, and he started doing exactly what, in a sense, what you're doing now, only he was doing it with the whole mainstream thing. And that process of getting students, he wasn't a caller, he was just an above average dancer. He started doing that. Now after 5 years, he got burnt out in 2003, and he said, would you take over? So I took over. I started doing the same thing. And then in 2007, we went to the Charlotte National Convention, and there was a session on ABC dancing. So one of my friends from there got all excited about that. He started introducing ABC dancing, and we ended up using it as a club to do it once or twice a month, to just as a means of advertising and getting people to come into that and be exposed to square dancing. We wanted them to, people like ABC Dance wanted to have people keep coming back. They didn't want to go through a bunch of lessons. As it turned out, people would come once or twice, or else they got so enamored with it they wanted to take the full lessons. So then we did that for quite a while, and we were managed to keep our club in the 60s, 64 to 70 range. We managed to get enough people to get rid of the people, to replace the people that were leaving. Then in March of 2015, my friend Jay Haynes, he told me about the CTM document. I looked at this and I said, oh, this is great. I analyzed the whole thing and I said, this is nifty. There's enough of the interesting calls that you can call an interesting dance with. And they got rid of all the duplicate calls. One example is star through, slide through. But they kept the ones that had the most versatility, because you can call same-sex slide through, but you can't call same-sex star through. That's just one example. We started that in October of 2015. We had in the mid-60s in our club. Right now, we just graduated a class, and we have 87 members in our club, so we're growing. What I really like about this is now we have 3 sessions per year. When you originally did it, you did 12, but with holidays and all that, we couldn't fit it into 3. So instead of 4 things a year, we do 3. And what's great about it is that's great in and of itself. But what's nice about it is, you know that when any class you've ever had, there's people that you could teach that whole thing to them in 3 weeks. There's other people that it fits well to just barely make it. There's other people, it takes twice as long for them to learn that. So what we do is we finish the CTM class, and then we go up to them and we say, oh, do you feel comfortable? Well, no, I'm really, I'm not really. Well, maybe you should take the class again. So then they take the class again the second time. So we have people that take CTM class once, sometimes twice, sometimes 3 times, all according to them. But we don't tell them what we do. We ask them questions about how they feel about it, and then we advise them based on their response. And people don't drop out and that sort of stuff. Then, but when people seem to have mastered that, then we go on and find another format, and we teach the balance, the 20-some calls, the balance of the mainstream calls, and then we go on and we also teach. Ours was a plus club. For I don't know how the first 30-some years, we always did September through August and learn plus. And of course, we had a lot of people drop out for all the reasons you all know. And we've got to the point now where we've used the idea of having dancers call. I was a dancer, Jay was a dancer, but in 2007 we went to color school. So we now have in our club, we now have 6 people that have all gone to color school. Not just dancers, but we went to color school to learn the basics. And we're teaching, and we now teach, up until 3 months ago, we were teaching 3 lessons, a plus, a CTM, and a mainstream, every single 4 months. So people could move along at their own pace whenever they wanted. And my friend Jay said, we're not a real strong plus club. I said, what do you mean that? He said, if you do a lot of DVD stuff, we fall down and don't do so well. So we just started, you would call them workshops. We call them strong class. So we have a CTM standard and a CTM strong. It's a workshop, but the workshop has 3 things that we want to put in that aren't necessarily in every workshop. The first thing is we want to get people to dance up to what we call club level speed or fast speed. So we just take standard choreography, no DVD stuff, standard stuff that they've all learned, and we just try and call them at a faster pace. So we spend part of the time for that. The other part is the standard workshop stuff, you do a little DVD to expand our horizons. The other thing is concepts. I didn't realize it until I started documenting things, but there's something like 10 or 12 different concepts. They're not calls. Vary a call, while, as couples, grand, reverse, fractional, on the diagonal, offset. There's showmanship, the standard thing where you tell somebody to circulate as many times as you want, boys turn around, man left. There's those kind of gimmick showmanship things. So we try and teach those during those things to give them a little exposure, to give them confidence so that they go out to a local high-level dance, a caller that's paid a lot of money, I guess that's a definition, or go to a convention. So we now have started, we now have 6 classes every Monday night. And then to accommodate the business of having a place to dance, we danced for 40 years on a Wednesday night plus. We still do that. But we added a Saturday night, and Saturday night is level of the floor. So if one of our CTM dancers comes to that night is a CTM night. We teach. And if no CTM person shows up and there's a mainstream person, it's a mainstream class. So that's how we've got them. As soon as they finish the first CTM session, we invite them to come to the dance. And the amazing thing that we found out is they dance better and are more successful at the dance than they are in class. Why is that? Because when they come to the dance, there's usually one couple, new couple, with 3 other angels. In our classes, we don't have that many angels, so it's like a quarter or 3/8 of people that are angels. So they're surprised when they come out to the dance, and they come back, and they do so well, and they're not breaking down at all, and everything's wonderful. That was an unexpected turnabout, but when you analyze it, you can understand why. Thank you very much.
Material there to actually, I think you have enough material there to actually do a full session. So, but I would like to move on so that we can get some other questions. Again, remember, managed to do that without a squeal. Your name and where you from?
My name's Joe Dean, I'm from California. My question has to do with your experience, based on your experience with your teaching. My question is about the size of these lists and the number of weeks. The CTM teaches a smaller subset of mainstream than this so-called essentials, and it's coming kind of out of the same origin, right? Bill Harrison was part of both of them, and I'm wondering how, in defining this as calling this the essential calls, you've ended up with something that takes 19 weeks to cover. Well, the other thing, which I thought was also supposed to be kind of the essential calls, was 12 weeks. How did you come up with this as, what is essential about these 19 weeks worth that's different from a 12-week program? Because a lot of people like the idea of 12 weeks because, or 15 or something, because they can envision doing at least 3 classes a year. If you got something that takes 19 or 20, you can't do 3 times per year. So there's infinite variability here. From your perspective, why is this the right size?
It's not the right size. It's one size. And the essentials list came first, okay? The condensed teach program came second from a different directive.
So this is actually an older list?
That's an older list, yes. And if you take a look at that list and the one that Bill also worked on later on the essentials, you're going to see some commonality there. But these are, again, we're not offering the solution or the list or the program. We're offering ideas that may work in your area. That essentials works for me in my area to get people into the mainstream program, but gets them dancing long before they're a mainstream dancer. And Bill?
Just the bathroom?
Yeah.
Just the bathroom, okay. Thanks, Dr.
Yes, so the 20-week was way before the Condensed. And how that got started was, I don't know how many in the room remember the Program Policy Committee? Do you guys remember that? We used to have that. And that was a committee that consisted of the chairman of the standing programs would get together. And one of the challenges that particular year was we had some foreign callers on there too, which was really good because we could get their perspective as well, was to say, what if we lived in the perfect world? What would we do with the basic mainstream program that we have currently? What could we change with what we already have? So everybody was tasked with creating this whatever lesson plan, and how would you treat those calls that we already have existing? And we all agreed that it would be nice to have calls that were up front in our beginning lessons within the first 5 weeks or so that made people feel like they were dancing. So Tim and I teamed up, and other guys teamed up, and there was about 3 or 4, maybe 2 or 3, maybe, I guess, I'm trying to remember, who finished the task, handed it in, and actually that year, I think 2 of them or 3 of them were taken with the mainstream committee, and there was some calls that were kind of moved around in that program that year in order to make the beginning first 4 or 5 weeks feel like it was more like dancing than it was just a learning process of this is a call, what have you. And that's how that got started, and we adopted it in our own beginner classes. That's how it went. And the object is like, the second part of that was, what calls could we live without? And so that's why if you look at it, it'll have non-essential. And we thought, well, I know American callers pretty well. I mean, if we lived in a perfect world where we could say, today this is what we're going to do, I would have bet that the American callers would have stopped teaching the non-essential calls. They might have said, well, we don't really need them, because a lot of them were duplications. It just depended on which duplication you'd prefer to have. You know, slide through, start through, die through, pass to the center, etc., like that. And we kind of figured, I wonder if they would have just dropped off and gone away. It's possible. They may have thought, well, I don't really need to teach those. That was another theory behind it. So that's how it all got.
I'm Rich Delgado, and I want to echo what Skip said. If you're going to go to CTM, it's very desirable to communicate with your club and your dancers, to let them know what you're going to do ahead of time, let them know why, and you can let them know that you're going to have people that are going to be able to dance at a dance that'll feel very much like a normal mainstream dance. So I took a relatively new club in the Delaware Valley. I'm from Princeton, New Jersey now. I have the other club in the Delaware Valley that's using CTM, and we'll offer CTM dancing if we have CTM dancers show up. So I think it's very important. Make sure you don't have people feel that, oh, this is something new, it's not a good idea, why did he do this? Take the effort to communicate and let your dancers and club officers know why you're doing something that's a little bit different from what they are doing. And I think there was questions about how long does this teach? Last week I taught the CTM in 12 weeks, adding a few more calls, such as dive through, star through, California twirl. This year I taught it in 13 weeks because the dancers that I have this year were not able to learn at that rate. 12 weeks for CTM is a very, to me, accelerated learning pace. I teach about an hour and a half per week. So, thank you.
The buy-in of the current dancers is not easy to acquire. Got a lot of resistance on that. And what I got was a group of dancers that wanted to buy into it, but not a single club as a club wanted to buy into it. So these dancers that wanted to join, wanted to do this, formed a new group. I feed that group with dancers. They're growing. Everyone around them is losing. So they're starting to get the message, hey, what are they doing right over there? They're getting bigger, we're getting smaller. So you just got to find that buy-in. You got to find that group of people that will support what you're doing and get out there and promote it and support it.
John Jones from Texas. What I have found over the last few years, and, well, no, wait a minute, it goes way back. This, what I'm about to say, is that dancers that went to an open dance somewhere and said, we are a basic club dancing. It was a mainstream dance that they went to. And the people at the mainstream dance said, you're just basic? Oh, wow. We're mainstream. Well, the mainstream group went to another place to dance, and there was a whole lot of plus dancers there. And they said, you're just mainstream. Laughed at them, made fun of them. You're just, oh, we're plus. And the same thing has happened all the way up the line. And the name of the group has been a real effect on our activity for a long time. The condensed teaching method by name says it's less. It's condensed. And the mainstream dancer said, oh, you're condensed. No, you can't compete with us. I have not heard when the Club 50 program came out, the same thing happened. The mainstream dancers, oh, you're just Club 50. We do 68. Yeah. When they changed the name of the Club 50 to the Sustainable Square Dance program, simply Sustainable Square Dance, SSD is all the name of it. I have not heard a single comment like that to those people who say they are sustainable dancers. Names have a big effect on our activity. Toby Thomason right here has a sustainable square dance program going in his club that his club has agreed to for what, 2 years? 3 years now. He's talked them into doing it for 3. He's a little more isolated than our club right in the Dallas area. He's a little further north, so he has better control. Japan has total control of everything. The United States ain't got control of nothing. But again, I've not heard any comments about Toby's club dancers being sustainable square dancers. The names have a big effect.
Thanks, John. Anyone else? Comment, question? And you don't have to limit your question to somebody on the panel. If you've heard a comment from someone, you want to ask them a question, that's fine too. Again, we're here to figure out how we're going to get people dancing, not taking lessons. Okay, every lesson I ever give, it's not called a lesson. By the way, also don't call my new dancers students. They're square dancers. The moment they circle left, they are a square dancer, and that's the only way I refer to them. I do not call them students. And I will chastise anybody that does call them students. So it's a mindset, it's a name, it's a psychology, and we've got to work to do better to get people dancing.
With this situation, we have had many people say, y'all are trying to dumb down the activity. No, we're trying to build it back up, but those that are that type of dancer, either full mainstream plus or advanced dancers, then you guys are trying to dumb down the activity. Now, discussion has begun about creating more sociability in our activity than we have had in the past. More friendliness, get-togethers, and doing things other than square dancing. And we've had people say, y'all are trying to dumb down the activity again. That's not the case. But those clubs that are, our Dancers Association, when they found out that there were several clubs that were doing the Club 50 program, the Sustainable Square Dance, they said, you are not eligible to get a grant from the association because the rules say you must be a full mainstream class to be able to qualify for a grant from the association. Well, they found out almost 50% of the clubs and the callers in our area were doing the Sustainable Square Dance program, and the association had intelligence enough to change their rules to say that anybody that's doing a CALLERLAB recognized program can qualify for a grant. Made a big difference.
On the dumbing down, where you hear that from, that I hear it from mainly, and I've heard exactly the same thing, you're dumbing it down, you're trying to make it super simple, this, that, and the other. Generally, I find that these are people who are not going to be dancing in 5 to 10 years. They're not going to be here. They're not going to be your customers, okay? And if we don't get an eye on who our customers are going to be and start selling our product to those people, we can just go away with those people that are going to go away in 5 to 10 years. That's a choice we can make.
I've had callers ask me, well, how do you know to call only a Sustainable Square Dance program at your dance if a whole bunch of people come in and they haven't told you that they're Sustainable Square Dancers? I can tell on the first tip. I call walk around the corner and seesaw your partner, and they don't that's not on the list, and if 3 or 4 squares break down, I know exactly where they came from.
And the same thing with the Condensed.
And they paid to get in the door.
Same money.
And they come and have a good dance, they're going to come back and pay to get in the door again.
Rich Delgado, Princeton, New Jersey. In terms of nomenclature, I don't say I teach a class when I'm dealing with new students. It's a progressive dance. So that's a different mindset, and it helps people come in the door and stay there.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got about 2 minutes left to our session. I think it's been a good one. I've heard a lot of good stuff from the floor. Thank you, each of you that have contributed. I'd like to thank Bill Harrison again and Doc Hiraga for all of their input into this. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to know more about what was discussed here, there's a lot of material on the CALLERLAB website. It's a great tool. Use it. If you want to contact me or any of the others here on the panel to discuss what we're doing, what works, what doesn't work, we'd be more than happy to hear.